Good evening. This is a night walk through the city of Edo, old Tokyo, on a soft summer night in 1750, made for you to fall asleep to. You don't need to do anything. You don't even need to listen closely. My voice is just something soft for your mind to rest on, and if you drift off somewhere between the bridge and the rain, that's the whole idea. Let your breathing slow down if you'd like. There's no rhythm to keep. 1 million people live in this city, and nearly all of them are asleep. The lanterns are burning low, the canals are quiet, and the night watchman is somewhere far away, keeping everything safe. Let's begin on the Great Bridge. It's an hour before midnight, and you're standing at the foot of Nihonbashi, the bridge of Japan, the great wooden bridge at the very center of Edo. Every road in the country begins here. Every distance in the land is measured from this spot. By day, it is the busiest place in the busiest city in the world. At this hour, it belongs to you. The bridge rises ahead in a long, gentle arch of heavy timber, its wooden deck pale with wear. You step onto it, and the boards receive your weight with a low, rounded sound. Not a creak exactly, more like the bridge acknowledging you the way an old floor acknowledges everyone. 1,000 people an hour cross these planks by day. Fish sellers at a run, pilgrims, palanquin bearers calling their rhythm, samurai keeping to the center. Tonight your footsteps are the only ones, and the bridge makes each one sound thoughtful. At the top of the arch, stop. This is one of the famous views of the world, and the night has kept it open for you. The river slides beneath, dark and patient, smelling faintly of the tide. The sea is close, and twice a day it reaches up this river like a long, slow breath. Boats are moored along both banks, gunwale to gunwale, nodding in their sleep. On either side, the city runs off into the dark, an endless low landscape of tiled roofs, grey on grey, stitched here and there with the small warm light of a paper lantern left burning. And far off to the west, on its hill, the great keep of Edo Castle stands against the stars, enormous, calm, its white walls holding what little light the night has to offer. The shogun sleeps there. The whole city arranges itself around that quiet fact, the way a harbor arranges itself around a lighthouse. Below you, against the bridge's great wooden pilings, the river makes its small, endless conversation. Lap and lap and lap. The sound of water that has somewhere to be, but no hurry to get there. A city of 1 million people, and the loudest thing in it right now is a river talking to a bridge. Down at the far end, the fish market lies dark and rinsed clean, its stones still glistening from the evening wash. Let's walk down and see it at the only hour it ever rests. The fish market runs along the river just below the bridge, and by day it is, by common agreement, the loudest place in Japan. The whole sea comes ashore here every morning. Tuna as long as a man, baskets of silver sardines, eels, octopus, crab, all of it announced at the top of 100 voices before the sun is properly up. They say the shogun's own breakfast is chosen here first, and the city eats what the castle leaves. Now it is the only hour of the day the market ever rests, and it rests beautifully. The stalls stand in their long rows, shuttered and bare, their wooden counters scrubbed pale. The stone paving has been sluiced with river water, bucket after bucket, the last chore of the day. And it hasn't finished drying, so the whole market floor glistens, holding the light of one forgotten lantern in 100 shallow puddles. Walk slowly. The stones are washed so clean they feel almost soft underfoot. The smell is not what you'd fear. Daytime's riot of fish is gone with the washing. What's left is the clean, cold smell of wet stone, a faint breath of salt, and cut cedar from the packing boxes stacked in neat towers against the walls. Underneath it, just barely, the green river smell rising off the water beyond the stalls. It is the smell of a hard-working place with its work entirely done. That one lantern, someone left it burning at the corner of the far row, a paper globe with a merchant's crest brushed on its side. Perhaps forgotten, perhaps left on purpose, the way harbour towns leave a light for late boats. Either way, it has the whole market to itself, and it makes the most of it. Every puddle on the stones carries its own small copy of the flame, so that walking down the row, you pass through a scattered constellation, lights below you instead of above. Behind the stalls, the river goes about its night work. The tide is easing out. You can hear it in the pilings, a soft, irregular clucking where the water talks to the wood. Moored to the market's own dock, the fish boats ride empty and light, riding higher now than they did this morning when they came in loaded to the rails. By the third hour after midnight, they'll push off again, lanterns at their bows, out to meet the fleet at the bay's mouth. But that is hours away, for now even the boats are sleeping, and their mooring ropes creak only when they dream. A cat crosses the far end of the market, the unhurried walk of a cat who owns the route, pauses once to consider the lantern, decides it has seen it before, and continues into the dark between the stalls. Every market in the world has these cats. They are part of the equipment. At the end of the row, the market gives way to the Canal district, and you can already hear the change in the water. The river's broad, loose talk narrowing into something more intimate. Water held between stone walls, water with boats sleeping on it, water with echoes. The canals are where Edo keeps its true quiet. Let's go and walk beside one. People call Edo the city of bridges, but that's only half the truth. It's a city of water. Canals run through it the way veins run through a leaf, dug by hand, wall to wall in cut stone, carrying rice and lumber and roof tiles and firewood into every quarter of the city. Whatever Edo eats, wears, or builds with, a boat brought it. The streets are for people, the canals are for everything else, and at night the canals are for sleeping boats. You come out along the water on a narrow stone quay, and there they are, cargo boats moored 2 and 3 deep along both walls, bow to stern, as far down the dark as you can see. Broad, flat, patient boats, each one tied to a wooden mooring post, worn smooth as an old tool handle. By day, this water is a slow traffic jam of poles and shouted apologies. Now the boats lie perfectly still, or almost still, which is better than still. Because this is the thing about moored boats at night. They are never entirely quiet, and the sounds they make are some of the kindest sounds in the world. Stand here a moment and sort them out, one by one. The water first, held between the stone walls. It doesn't wave, it laps. A small, irregular, glassy sound against 100 wooden hulls, here, then there, then 2 at once, never in rhythm and never stopping. Then the ropes, hemp mooring lines that tighten and ease as the boats breathe, each one giving up a slow creak like a door that has decided not to open after all. Then the hulls themselves, when 2 boats lean together and touch. A soft wooden knock, deep and round, like a word spoken in another room. And beneath everything, the tide, still easing out toward the bay, drawing a long, quiet line under the whole night. Lap and creak and knock and the slow withdrawal of the sea. You could stand here an hour and the pattern would never once repeat and never once surprise you. The boatmen are asleep in the tenements 2 streets back. A whole guild of them, men who can pole a loaded boat through a bridge arch with 2 fingers on the stern oar. A few sleep aboard in the little roofed shelters at the stern. You can tell those boats by the trace of charcoal smell above them, a supper fire long gone out. One boat down the row has a tiny lantern still lit under its shelter, no bigger than a plum, swaying a little with the water. Somebody's small insurance against the dark. It moves, and its reflection moves with it, and the 2 of them keep each other company like a word and its echo. On the far wall, a stone stair runs down into the water. Steps for loading, worn hollow in the middle like everything useful in this city. The lowest steps are wet and dark, where the tide has already let them go. By morning, the water will climb back up them, and the whole ballet will start again. Poles, ropes, rice bales, apologies. You walk the quay slowly, past boat after sleeping boat. Somewhere behind you, a rope decides to creak. Somewhere ahead, 2 hulls exchange their soft knock. The canal is talking in its sleep, and nothing it says needs an answer. And then you feel it, the smallest change in the air, a coolness, a green smell sharpening. Far off over the rooftops, the sky has gone soft at the edges. Rain is coming. Gentle summer, unhurried rain, the kind this city loves best. Let's find an awning and listen to it arrive. The rain announces itself the way polite rain does, 1 drop at a time. You hear the first ones before you feel them, a tick on a tile roof across the canal, then another, then a small dry tap on the paper of somebody's window. You step in under the deep eaves of a warehouse. Edo builds its eaves generous because Edo knows its weather. And from that dry vantage, you get to watch a whole city receive the rain. It comes on slowly, gathering itself, and then it settles in. A soft, steady, even summer rain. The kind with no wind in it and no ambition. The kind that has clearly arranged to stay the night. And the city, roof by roof, begins to sound. This is the thing about Edo in the rain. The whole city is an instrument. 100,000 tiled roofs, each one a field of small curved channels, and the rain plays all of them at once. Not a drumming, nothing so urgent, but an immense soft hiss, layered and deep, near roofs distinct and far roofs blending, until the sound has no edges anywhere and simply becomes the air. Under the eaves where you stand, the runoff finds the roof's lowest tile and begins its own private melody. Drip, 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 into the gravel below, unhurried, slightly irregular, entirely absorbed in its work. The canal receives the rain too and makes the gentlest sound of all. 10,000 tiny rings opening and closing on the dark water, a whisper with no consonants in it. The moored boats gleam now, every hull varnished with wet, and the little plum-sized lantern down the row keeps burning under its shelter, its reflection gone soft and long across the stippled water. The smell arrives a minute behind the sound, that first rain smell of warm stone and dust, giving up the day's heat, then wet wood, wet rope, wet leaves from some hidden courtyard willow, the green of it all rinsed and sharpened. Cities never smell more honest than in the first quarter hour of rain. Somewhere out in the wet dark, streets away, comes a sound you'll hear again before this night is over. 2 blocks of hardwood struck together, clack, clack, crisp even through the rain, followed by a voice too far off to make out the words, calling its long, slow phrase. That's the night watchman on his rounds, wooden clappers in hand, reminding a wooden city to mind its fires. Hi no Yojin, take care with fire. Every neighborhood has its watchman, every watchman his route. All night, every night, rain or no rain, it's the most reassuring sound this city knows. Someone is awake, someone is walking, someone is watching over all of it. The clappers fade off down their appointed streets, and the rain closes back in behind them. You stay under the eaves a while, in no hurry at all. There's a bench there. Of course there is. Whoever built this warehouse stood here too, waiting out the weather, and you sit, and the roof does its work above you, and the whole city hisses softly around you like something simmering on a very low flame. Rain like this makes the night feel settled, accounted for, wrapped. Nobody in 100,000 houses is going anywhere. The boats are staying put. Even the tide seems to have slowed down to listen. But you needn't sit cold. Just up the lane, a warm light is leaning out into the rain. A paper lantern over a tiny stall, and the smell of wood smoke and good broth reaching all the way to your bench. The Soba cellar is still open. He's always still open. Let's go stand in his lantern light. The Soba stall is barely a building at all. 2 wheels, a roof, a counter, a bench under an awning. But it carries everything a tired city needs at night. A fire, a pot, a lantern, and a man who is in no hurry. The lantern does the advertising. A paper globe glowing over the counter with one character brushed on its side. And in this rain, it has gathered itself a halo, a soft sphere of lit drizzle hanging over the stall like a small local moon. Moths would love it, but the rain has sent the moths home, so tonight the light belongs to the steam. And there is a great deal of steam. The big pot has been simmering since sundown, and the whole stall breathes. Broth steam from under the wooden lid, rain steam off the hot iron of the brazier hood, the cellar's own breath when he laughs. The smell reaches you long before the warmth does. Dashi, that deep amber smell of kelp and smoked fish, with soy underneath it and something sweet behind that. It is very possibly the best smell this city makes, and this city makes a lot of smells. The cellar stands in the middle of his tiny kingdom, with a cotton towel tied around his head, and everything he needs is within the reach of one arm. Noodles in their box, the well of broth, the ladle hanging on its nail, the little drum of shichimi pepper for the customers who like their midnight spicy. He has done every motion 10,000 times, and it shows. Nothing hurried, nothing wasted, the ladle dipping and pouring in one unbroken curve, like water that has learned a trade. His customers at this hour are the night people, and they arrive in ones. A palanquin bearer with his lantern pole leaned against the awning post, shoulders steaming. A rice shop clerk who couldn't sleep. A boatman off one of the canal barges who eats standing up out of long habit, though the bench is right there. Nobody talks much. The stall does the talking. The pot's low simmer, rain on the awning, the tick of chopsticks on a bowl, the long grateful slurp that is not only permitted here, but expected. A compliment paid in the only language broth understands. You take the end of the bench under the awning's edge, where the warmth of the brazier reaches you in slow pulses, and the rain misses you by a hand's width. The charcoal in the brazier has burned down to that perfect hour of an ember's life. No flame, no smoke, just an orange heart breathing under white ash, flaring faintly whenever the awning flaps. The bearer finishes, sets his bowl down with both hands, says something short and warm, and shoulders back out into the rain, his lantern swinging away down the lane like a slow firefly. The boatman follows. The clerk stays a little longer. The clerk, one suspects, comes as much for the lantern as the noodles. The seller wipes the counter, checks his broth, adjusts nothing, and settles back into his patient stance, a man perfectly shaped to his work. He'll be here until the 3rd hour, then wheel the whole kingdom home through the wet streets, fire banked, lantern out, and be back tomorrow at dusk. Some men keep a shop. He keeps a small warm outpost against the night, and the night is politely grateful. You warm your hands a last moment at the edge of the brazier's reach. Up the lane and around the corner stands a much larger keeper of warmth. The neighborhood bathhouse, closed these 2 hours, its great stove cooling as slowly as a whale breathes. Let's go feel what it's still holding. The bathhouse announces itself even closed. Over the doorway hangs the norin. The split cloth curtain, indigo blue gone soft with 1,000 washings. And though the door behind it is barred for the night, the building leans a gentle warmth out into the rain, the way a sleeping animal warms the straw around it. This is the Sento, the public bath, and in this quarter of Edo, it is the living room of 300 households. Almost nobody in these lanes has a bath of their own. Water is carried, fuel is precious, houses are small. So everyone comes here, daily, from the rice merchant to the rice merchant's cat. Or so the joke goes. For the price of a few coppers, hot water to the chin, the day's aches dissolved, and every scrap of neighborhood news exchanged twice over in the steam. The last bathers left 2 hours ago. The fire under the great cauldron was let die an hour before that. The attendants know to the minute how much heat the evening needs. But a bathhouse is a heavy thing. Stone below, thick timber above, a tub of water like a small warm pond. It takes in heat all day and surrenders it grudgingly all night, a little at a time. Slip in under the norin, into the entry where the shoe shelves stand in their honest rows, every compartment empty. The air changes at the threshold. You walk into warmth the way you'd walk into shallow water. And with it comes the bathhouse smell, one of the great smells, hinoki cypress, wet and sweet. The wood of the tub and the buckets and the duckboards, a scent like a forest that has learned good manners. Under it, clean steam, a ghost of soap, and the faint mineral breath of the stones around the stove. The washing room is dark and glistening. Rows of low stools, rows of wooden buckets stacked rim to rim. Someone stacks them beautifully every night. A small tower of circles, because people who work with their hands cannot help finishing the day neatly. High in the wall, a round window lets in what the night has. A coin of grey light that lies on the wet floor and stretches when the rain thickens. And there at the back, the bath itself, holding its water in the dark. Still deeply warm. You can feel it from here, a slow bloom of heat against your face. And utterly still, a black rectangle with one dim light coin floating on it. All day this water held the whole neighborhood, the loud, the weary, the newborn being given a first careful bath while 3 grandmothers supervised. Now it holds only warmth and gives it up slowly to a dark room, to the stacked buckets, to you. Sit on the step by the tub's edge a moment. The warmth comes up through the boards, patient as bread cooling. Outside, the rain keeps its soft hold on the roof, and the roof passes the sound down through the beams, rounder and deeper for the journey, until in here the rain is less a sound than a pulse. the building's own slow heartbeat. Painted on the wall above the tub, as in every bathhouse in this city, is a landscape. A great mountain over water, pines, a boat. In the dark, you can only make out the mountain's pale crown floating unsupported. All night it floats there over the warm water, a mountain keeping watch over a pond, both of them dreaming. The warmth would keep you here until morning if you let it. But there's a lane nearby where a different kind of glow is still awake. Not a fire, but a craftsman's lamp burning late over paper and bamboo. The lantern maker is working tonight. Let's go and look in at his window. Halfway down a lane too narrow for its own name, a low window is lit from inside. Warm light through paper shutters, the only working light in the whole sleeping row. This is the lantern maker's shop, and the lantern maker keeps craftsman's hours, which is to say, he stops when the piece stops, not when the sky does. The window is propped a hand's width for the air, and the rain is respectful of it, so you can stand under the eave and look in on one of the quiet trades at its quietest. The workshop is small and completely full, in the way of workshops that are actually well organized. Bamboo split into ribs and sorted by length in stand-in sheaves. Rolls of washi paper on a shelf, white as good snow. Pots of brush glue, a rack of finished lanterns overhead, globes and cylinders, and one grand two-man festival lantern, all unlit, hanging like pale fruit in the gloom. The whole room smells of paper, fresh-cut bamboo, rice glue, and a thin, clean line of ink. The maker sits cross-legged at his low bench with an Andean lamp burning at his elbow, and he is doing the slow part, pasting paper to frame. The bamboo ribs are already bent and bound into their round cage. That was the morning's work, and now, strip by strip, the washi goes on, each piece brushed with glue, laid, smoothed outward from the center with 2 fingers, and a patience you can feel through the window. Paper wants to wrinkle. His whole art is persuading it not to, one stroke at a time. Watch his hands for a while. There's a rhythm you'll start to hear as much as see. The soft lap of the brush in the glue pot, the whisper of paper accepting the frame, a pause while 2 fingers travel the seam, then the brush again. Lap, whisper, pause, lap, whisper, pause. He has done this since he was a boy holding frames for his father. His hands make the decisions now and let his mind rest. And his face has the faraway look of a man listening to something pleasant a long way off. On the bench beside him stands tonight's other finished piece. A globe lantern, paper still faintly damp, waiting for its crest to be brushed on tomorrow when the surface is ready. And because a lantern maker cannot help himself, he has set a small candle stub inside it, just to see. It glows the way only new washi glows, an even milky, edgeless light, the whole globe lit and no part of it bright, light with all the sharpness strained out of it. That, right there, is the whole secret of this city at night. Every lantern you've seen tonight, over the Soba stall, under the boat shelter, down every lane, is doing this same kind work, taking flame, which is wild, and wrapping it in paper until it becomes something you can rest your eyes on. A city of wood and paper learned long ago to keep its fire gentle and made a whole aesthetic out of the caution. The watchman's clappers and the paper lantern are 2 halves of one wisdom. The maker sets down his brush, turns the frame a quarter turn, considers it, and picks the brush back up. He'll do 3 more strips and call it a night. You can see the tiredness arriving in his shoulders, the good kind, the kind with a finished thing to show for it. Leave him to his last strips, The rain has eased to a fine mist, and further up the hill, past the last shops, a deeper quiet is waiting. The temple grounds, where the garden has been raked for tomorrow and the great bell hangs sleeping in its tower. Let's climb the lane and end up somewhere holy. The temple sits at the top of its lane behind a modest wooden gate, and the gate stands open, because temple gates mostly do. Step through, and the city performs its quietest trick. It disappears. Not the sound of it. The rooftops still hiss faintly with the last of the rain somewhere behind you, but the feel of it. Inside the gate, the ground is swept earth and moss, the air is cedar and wet stone, and a green breath of incense long since burned, and the space between things suddenly matters. A temple garden is mostly emptiness, arranged by people who understood exactly what emptiness is for. The gravel garden lies to the right of the main hall, pale in the dark, and it has been raked. Of course it has. It is raked every evening, rain or not, by a young monk whose whole task is to draw straight lines and long curves in small stones, and then walk away without stepping on them. The rain has pattered the ridges soft at their crests, but the pattern holds, long parallel strokes like still water, bending in wide rings around two dark stones that stand in the gravel the way islands stand in the sea. Tomorrow it will be raked again. It is always today's garden, never yesterday's. That impermanence is not a flaw in the arrangement. It is the arrangement. A stone lantern glows at the garden's edge, a real flame, small behind a carved window, lit at dusk and left to keep the garden company. Its light does almost nothing, which is exactly the right amount, enough to prove the gravel's ridges, enough to put a faint warm edge on the moss, enough to be somewhere for your eyes to rest. And above everything, in its open wooden tower beside the hall, hangs the bell. It's a great bronze bell, taller than a man, green dark with age, and it hangs dead silent. But a bell this size is never entirely silent if you stand near it. It was last struck at sundown, and a bell like this holds its note the way the bathhouse holds its heat. Somewhere deep in the bronze, the sound is still settling, hours later, too low and too slow for the ear, and not quite too low for the bones. Stand under the tower, and you can almost feel it. A stillness with a shape to it, the ghost of a tone, the bell dreaming of the bell. At dawn it will speak again, struck by the swinging beam once, and then a long pause while the whole note blooms and travels out over the rooftops, over the canals, out to the boats on the bay, and everyone in the city will half hear it in their sleep and know without waking that the night is ending in good order. 100,000 households set their souls by this bell the way they set their clocks by the castle drums. You sit on the wooden step of the bell tower, worn smooth, faintly damp, entirely accommodating, and let the garden do what gardens like this were built to do, which is nothing, beautifully. And there, far away and fainter than last time, clack, clack. The watchman again, streets and streets away now, his rounds carrying him to the far edge of the quarter, his voice too distant to be words at all, just a rise and fall in the wet air. Take care with fire. The sound trails off into the mist, and the garden absorbs it, the way it absorbs everything, into the moss, without comment. Everything out there is watched, and everything in here is at rest. When your legs tell you it's time, there's one more climb this night owes you. A wooden tower at the quarter's edge, built for watching over the whole city at once. From up there, Edo by night is 10,000 small lights. Let's go count a few. The fire tower stands at the edge of the quarter, a tall open frame of timber with a ladder up its spine and a small roofed platform at the top. And it exists for one reason. Edo is a city built of wood and paper, and a city built of wood and paper watches for fire the way a sailor watches the weather. Tonight, the watching has been rained off duty. The tower keeper, relieved of worry by the weather, has gone down to the Soba stall. You may have stood next to him, and the ladder is unattended, and the night is offering you the best seat in the city. Climb slowly. The rungs are wet but sure, worn to a grip by decades of hands, and the tower gives that small, honest sway that wooden towers give, settling under you like a boat. Halfway up, you rise past the roof lines, and the sound of the rain changes, no longer falling around you, but falling below you, 100,000 roofs hissing gently underfoot. And then the platform, and the city. Edo at night, from above, in the rain. As far as you can see in every direction, a dark sea of tiled roofs, and scattered across it. This is the thing that catches your breath. Thousands upon thousands of small, warm lights. Lanterns over late stalls. Lamps behind paper windows. Watchfires at the gates of the great estates. The Soba stalls, that scattered constellation, each one a pin of gold. 1 million people live down there, and even at this hour, the city cannot quite bring itself to go completely dark. It glimmers all over, softly, like embers raked flat. To the west, on its wooded hill, Edo Castle rises above everything. The great white keep, dim and vast in the rain haze, moats coiled around its base, holding what light there is. To the east, past the last of the roofs, a band of deeper darkness with a few slow lights swaying on it. The bay and the boats riding out the rain at anchor. And directly below, your whole night's walk laid out like a map. The bridge, the market, the canal with its one plum-sized lantern still going, the temple roof heavy and calm among its trees. Beside you on the platform hangs the fire bell, a bronze dome with a striker, kept oiled, kept ready, and on all the best nights, kept silent. Its silence right now is the sound of everything being fine. In this city, a bell that doesn't ring is the good news, delivered continuously, all night long. Rain on the little roof above you, the tower's slow creak, 10,000 lights, and every one of them somebody's small evening still glowing. A game of go unfinished, a letter being written, a child who won't sleep, a lamp left on for someone coming home late. From up here you can't see any of those people. You can only see the proof of them spread out to the horizon, warm points in the wet dark. Cities look their kindest from above, at night in the rain. All the day's noise is folded away, and what's left is just this. Light kept burning in weather, on purpose. Stay as long as the view holds you. The ladder will still be there. And when you come down slowly into the quietest streets this city has. The samurai quarter, where the walls are high, the gates are shut, and even the rain seems to lower its voice. That's the road home now. Let's take it. The samurai quarter begins without announcement. The shops simply stop, the lanes widen, and the walls rise. Long, unbroken runs of earthen wall on both sides, shoulder high and higher, roofed with their own little caps of tile, streaming quietly in the rain. Behind them lie the residences of the retainer families. You can't see the houses, only their gates, heavy timbered and shut, each with its family crest carved above the beam, each crest glistening. And the sound changes. You notice it within 10 steps. The lane has gone hushed in a way the merchant streets never quite manage. It's the walls that do it. They hold the rain's hiss out and your footsteps in, so that walking here is like walking down a long, open-roofed corridor. Your own quiet footfalls suddenly the main event. Even the rain, falling into this stillness, seems to have lowered its voice to match. This is the disciplined part of the city, and its discipline extends to its silence. No stall would dream of setting up here. No reveller sings his way home down these lanes. The houses behind the walls keep early hours and austere ones. These are military households, whatever the long peace has made of the profession, and the whole quarter sleeps the way it does everything, in good order, without fuss, gates barred at the appointed hour. But austerity at night, in the rain, has its own deep comfort. Look at what these walls offer you as you pass. The earthen surface streaked dark with wet, patched here and there by generations of repair. Every patch a slightly different shade of the same honest mud. An old pine leans its crown out over one wall, trained for 100 years into exactly this gesture, and its needles comb the rain into slower, fatter drops that strike the lane one at a time, each one distinct. A slow, irregular counting underneath the weather's murmur. Further on, a gate lantern burns behind its little grille, lighting nothing but its own crest and 3 feet of wet stone, dutiful and dim. Through one gate's slight gap, a hand's width where the timbers have settled, you catch a single glimpse of the garden within. Raked gravel gone dark with rain, a stone basin brimming and quietly overrunning. One lit window far back under deep eaves. Somebody's lamp. Somebody's late hour. The gap is narrow and the glimpse lasts 3 steps, and then the wall resumes, keeping the household's peace the way it has kept it for generations. Somewhere deep in the quarter, softened by walls and distance and rain, a few notes of a shamisen find their way out into the night. 4 notes, 5, unhurried, someone playing for no one, or for one other person, or just for the sound of it against the rain. Then nothing. The lane absorbs it and continues. Walk on. Wall, gate, lantern, pine, wall, gate, crest, drip. The pattern repeats with small variations, block after block, the most soothing architecture in the city. Order you can lean on, rhythm you can walk to, silence with a roof of rain over it. The lane bends, descends a shallow slope, and the walls begin to give way to humbler rooftops. The townspeople's quarter again, the long communal row houses where most of this city actually sleeps. Down one of those rows, behind one of those doors, a room is waiting for you. A lamp already lit, bedding already laid, rain already performing on the roof. You've earned it several times over tonight. Let's go in. The room is 4.5 mats, and it is everything. You slide the wooden door aside. It runs in its groove with a sound like a long, soft breath, and step up out of your wet sandals onto tatami. That first step is its own reward. The mats give slightly underfoot, firm and kind at once, and the room smells of them. That clean, dry grass and sunlight smell that tatami keeps for years, with a thread of lamp oil laced through it, and rain politely staying outside. The lamp is an andon, a small wooden frame, paper on 4 sides, a dish of oil and a wick burning inside. And it is the gentlest instrument of light human beings have devised. No glare, no point of brightness to catch your eye. The paper takes the flame and spreads it, so the whole lamp glows evenly. One warm cube of honey-colored light, and the room around it is lit the way dusk lights things, softly from everywhere, with edges forgiven. The bedding is already laid out, a futon on the tatami, thick and freshly aired, its cover dyed the deep indigo this city loves, indigo like the bottom of the evening sky, and folded back at the corner in a gesture as old as innkeeping. It's ready whenever you are. Outside, the rain has settled into its all-night voice on the roof tiles, that even patient hiss with no argument left in it. On the shoji, the paper window, the light of some neighbor's lamp across the alley trembles faintly through the weave, and now and then a runnel of water traces down the outside of the paper, a brief silver line, there and gone. The paper keeps the weather out, but lets its shadow play through. Rain as lantern show all night, free with the room. Sit down on the futon. The quilt is heavier than it looks. Cotton batting, generous. And when you draw it over your legs, the day's walking arrives all at once, the way it does, a warm tiredness settling from the shoulders down. Listen to the house. A nagaya is a long building of many small households under one continuous roof, and at this hour it breathes as one animal. Someone's slow cough 2 rooms down, already ending, the creak of a beam adjusting to the damp, a child murmuring in a dream and going quiet, the landlord's dog under the eaves out of the rain, sighing the sigh of a dog who has inspected everything and found it acceptable. Thin walls, they say, and it's true. But tonight, thin walls just mean you can hear a whole street being safe. And then, one last time, from far away, clack, clack. The watchman at the very edge of hearing now, his rounds carrying him out to the border of another neighborhood entirely. His call no more than a shape in the rain. Take care with fire. It is the faintest he has been all night, and the most comforting. The sound of vigilance receding exactly as it should, leaving everything behind it accounted for. The lamp answers him the only way a lamp can, by burning small and steady and behaved. Lamp and rain, rain and lamp. The whole night has been walking these 2 things toward each other, the lights of the city and the water of the sky. And here in this room, they finally sit together. The andon's warm cube, the roof's soft hiss, one holding you, one covering you. Lie back. The pillow is buckwheat hulls, and it shifts once under your head, finding your shape, then holds. Tomorrow this city will happen again. The bridge will thunder, the market will roar, the boats will fly their poles. None of it needs you. The rain is handled, the lamps are handled. The watchman has the rest. Let your eyes rest on the andon's glow as long as you like. Then let them close. A few more words and I'll say goodnight. So here we are, at the end of the night walk. We crossed the great bridge together, you and I, when the boards had the night to themselves. We walked the rinsed stones of the fish market and stood by the canal while the boats talked in their sleep. We were under the eaves when the rain arrived. We stood in the sober man's lantern light. We felt the bathhouse giving back its warmth and watched the lantern maker finish one more rib of bamboo, and sat in the temple garden while the watchman's clappers went by. We saw the whole city from the tower, 10,000 lights in the rain, and now you're here, under the indigo quilt, with the lamp burning low and the rain keeping its promise on the roof. The city will keep. The bridge has stood through 1,000 nights like this one. The watchman knows his route. The rain knows its work, so let it all get quieter now. Let the rain get quieter. Let the lamp get quieter. Let my voice get quieter too. If you're still awake, that's fine. There's no hurry and nothing to get right. And if you've been drifting since the canal, or the garden, or the tower, then you did the walk exactly right. Sleep well. Somewhere ancient, the lamps are burning low. Good night.